I honestly have to stop myself because there's too many sweet sections and ideas. And then of course, if you really wanted to get into it, I could break down every single line that he's doing and what's he doing and why is he doing it and how is he doing it. It's all gold. Okay, so Bageshri Kanada, that is what we're looking at. So there's three kind of main moods for Bageshri Kanada. There's Bhakti, Sringara, Karuna. So we have devotion, joy, and pathos. Joy and pathos is in a lot of rags, and I think that kind of goes into the conversation of like the depth of what an emotion means. In this music, you know, a lot of things would be like, oh yeah, it has a happy feeling, but we know that happiness is a whole spectrum of emotion. It's like you can be elated and absolutely bounding with joy. You can have tears of being happy, but then you also can be bittersweet, right? We can have sadness in happiness. That pathos and joy together is a really powerful, I think, combo of emotions. And so this rag has Bageshri, but then also has the Kannada side. Bageshri has a lot of potentially romantic feelings. It also has similar emotions where it also has joy, but there's also like longing and this kind of detached feeling as well, potentially. A lot of love songs in Bageshri. There's a lot of love songs in everything in Indian music, but meditative qualities as well. It's a Maavadi raga, and so is Bageshri Kanada. And we've talked about this before, but Maavadi rags, there's something about the Ma Tanpura that has a really sweet aspect to it. I find it to be very lulling as far as the frequencies and the notes that are there. And it brings out a much different quality, I think, than Pancham, than having Pa and the Tanpura. So we have this here in Bageshri Kanada. You could use Pa as well. The time, the Prahar, is kind of the evening, late evening. The Kannada family is more on the later side. And then the Tat itself is in Kafi Tat. Like Bageshri, also in Kafi Tat as well. So that's one of the nice things about this rag is that when you're looking at, let's say, Darbari Kannada or like Koshi Kannada, then they have the Komal Dha. And that's where the Asavari side comes in. In this, we don't have it. We have Shuddh, and that brings a different quality altogether. There's certain phrases that'll sound almost like Darbari, but it's not. And so we'll go over that a little bit. So Bageshri, more simply, Saga Madanisa. That's like the most straightforward version of this. But that's not really a great picture of the raga because it has Pa as well. You have this feeling of the Sanida. Lots of Dani Saga Ma Dani Sa. Really pretty. But then we'll see things, right? So we have this way of coming down. Ma pada ma ga re sa ni da. So then we take Bageshri Kanada and we get a different scale. We saw in the Bageshri Sa ga ma da. So in Bageshri Kanada, so right there, sa re ga. So then the Kannada side for like Darbari Kannada, for Darbari Kannada. So you see that there's like they both go up pretty similar. That's sa re ga ma pa. But what separates them like immediately is, for one, it has Shuddh rather than Komal Da. and it goes back to ga here. And you don't play it the same. It's not sa re ga ma pa ga ma da ni sa. Not like this. I mean, I guess you could do that, but really it goes sa re ga ma pa ga ma da ni sa. So almost like two phrases. You know, one way of looking at it. Sa re ga ma pa ga ma da ni sa. Not sa re ga ma pa ga ma da ni sa. So that gives more of like that darbari feel if you're doing sa re ga and pulling there. The descending, these are different ascending descending phrases, but what we're kind of looking for, and the strongest ones, is this right? That ascending is a pretty straightforward way that doesn't feel like Bageshri and doesn't feel like Darbari Kannada either, but it gives the feeling. Gamaresa. This phrase you hear a lot in the Kannada family. Different usage of the pa as well, because you know if we're looking at sanida padanida ma pada magaresa in Bageshri, but Bageshri Kannada a little different. Still kind of similar, so it kind of has, again, like there is a feeling of Bageshri there, but the Kannada side also comes out. I think that's probably enough to just get an idea basically of what we're hearing. And now we'll listen to Dad go through it. This is one of the ones from Subrata Chowdhury's YouTube channel. It's like one of the best channels on the internet. Okay, Bageshri Kanada, this is Baba. Enjoy.
Good evening, friends. We are very honored today to play for you. I'm going to start the evening melody rag, Bageshri Kanada. It's a very old traditional raga. The mood of this rag, devotion, pathos, and joy. You'll hear the first part in Alap and Jo, which is like a prayer or meditation. And then next part you'll hear the gut in Teen Tal Rag Bageshri Kanada.
So he says actually Alap Jor. So he says that, but let's see if he goes into that kind of jhala section that is like pre-jhala, where it kind of sounds like it, and it's something that's kind of a staple of his. When you are playing and deciding what you're going to play, there's nothing wrong with having more of a focused idea of what you're going to do. So you could say, I'm thinking about playing like Alap Jor Jhala. But if you say it, then you kind of have to play it if you're going to announce it in the concert, where you're going to start and where you're going to go. When he says this, and we know that it's 27 minutes long, it makes me wonder about where he would go in the Alap section, so the whole Astai Antara before he gets to High Sa, and if he's really going to spend a lot of time there, or if he's going to spend a lot of time in the Jor. The Alap can be very extended because there's the Astai Antara and the Alap, then there's Jor, but if you do it traditionally, then you'll start basically Astai and Antara again in the Jor. Once that happens, then you can start entering and including different types of techniques. And so when he says this, let's see what he does, because maybe he gets into a mood later and he changes and he ends up going into Jhala. We'll find out, but something to consider when we're looking at what are we planning on playing and what comes up during the performance. Oh, and one thing just for the sake of it, if you're curious, check out the Tanpura, Madasa. So we get this really sweet feeling of Madasa. Rather than we just pretty too, but ma da sa. So alternative tunings, different ways you can add these kind of textures and layers of sounds that you then will play on, and how that would potentially affect what you're going to do. He has both ma and da being very strong because they're in the tanpura, so they'll be there all throughout the concert. Wow. Okay, so let's stop here just for a second. If we're looking at the way that he's starting to think about, the notes, really strong, just dani. So now it could still be Bageshri. If he hadn't have said that, you don't exactly know which rag he's doing. The da is really strong and it really rings out with that tanpura. It's just like, to me, this is when it's the ma, the da, the sa, super peaceful. Like he starts playing and it's instantly like, oh, it's pretty relaxed, man. It's feeling pretty good here. Now with this one, that re coming out strong like that, if it was Bageshri, you can't really do that. Dani sa ga. So the Shuddh da is for both rags, right? So all those notes are the same. But there the re comes out. And so right in the first phrases, just around dani sa and re. Did he go to ga? I'm not positive, I'm forgetting now. Anyway, just to point out that intro, this dani sa, this dani, just really spending time here. And let me go back just a second. Wow. All around, so dani, sa, and re, those are the notes that are coming out here. And that nikas. On that re. How about? Okay, so in this one, the nikas he's doing pretty similar each time. This pretty simple, straightforward. It's not elaborate. In the ornament, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, these are those ones where it's like, you know, if you were to play it this way, I don't think you can see my hand. Sorry. Like. So in this case, yeah, it seems like he's doing that. You could also go, but that's a different sound, right? You have to do it really fast to get there. So it's like, it feels like if you're really doing that, you're making a totally different point. So in this case, it's that little hint at the Shuddh, yeah. So it's like, but it's so quick that it's not really Shuddh. It's just the aspect of the ornament. So it's one of those where it's like, if you play that ornament by itself, like, it's like, it sounds kind of strange, because if you were doing it for all of them, some of these ornaments becomes a little bit lighter. And it's not that that's wrong or anything. It just depends on the style that you're doing and what the interpretation is. Now that I say that, though, if you're playing something like Bageshri Kanada, it's generally considered more serious. So I think when you start to add in these kind of lighter ornaments, it sort of shifts the feeling. Again, it's like in our style, the Drupad Khayal, it's like that emphasis on the more serious mean sometimes and serious sound is what's going to be more important. So once you start throwing in too much of those, it's that whole idea of like, if all your ornaments are very fast and very quick, you're starting to change the kind of feeling of the mood that you can bring out, versus playing longer ones. And then really like kind of like milking those sounds. And then Dad does that really brilliant way of kind of interweaving both. So you get quick ornaments and then longer mean. That brings more of the Drupad feeling as well. That's the long answer. Yes, and quick. That's my interpretation of it. We'll see. So that's another thing to always think about. We hear him do this ornament one time, right? Now let's listen to him keep doing it as he goes throughout the concert. And let's try to figure out, does it sound like at some points he's going... See, because to me, if you're doing a slower mean, a slower ornament, that's when that might come out. But see, then I start doing these things, and then it becomes a little lighter too. So. And so that's a good question. So let's now be aware of this ornament and see if he does that. But yeah, your instincts is what I hear too. One thing that he does in this whole section here is that he goes down. He did like. And I think he went to pa around here. I'm forgetting exactly what he did. But the idea is that some of these phrases here could be more like Bageshri-esque almost. But then what he does is after this, and then it's not that it is not Bageshri Kanada, it's just that some of the phrases sounded also similar to Bageshri. And granted, it is Bageshri Kanada. But if you're playing Bageshri Kanada, you're playing Bageshri Kanada, not Bageshri. So then if you're doing phrases that sound maybe a little bit similar to Bageshri, well, what do? So he does this phrase around kind of the ga and the ma. He digs into the ga, which makes me feel a little bit more like the Kanada side. But ga is also there, and it's really sweet in Bageshri. So what does he do? He goes... And he just like sits on that re. So it's like if you had any thought of, oh, am I listening to Bageshri? As soon as he goes to the re and does something like that, it's like, oh yeah, no way. There's no way that's Bageshri. If it was, the person's not playing Bageshri. Or a very different version. I don't know what it is. But that's how you bring out then the Bageshri Kanada feel. So yeah, it's a really sweet way that he does that. So how you can like, if you start to think that it might be a different rag, how do you get rid of that feeling and really bring out the feeling of the rag you're trying to play? Well, you play some characteristic line or something that really makes it, it's like stamps it with that raga name. So in this case, the re becomes really strong. So let's go back just a second here. That's that re ga ma re, that's that Kanra sound. Oh, क्या बात. Okay, slightly different nikas this time. Okay, that's so pretty. Oh wow! Already, the mood of this recording is just killer. I just think it's so sweet. But so a couple things to point out. One thing is a similar ornament to what Arnab bhai. So he was asking before about that, and then he does. So same thing. It's using that same. So it's like that hint of Shuddh ga, although we know that that's not a note in the rag. But when you're doing an ornament like that, it's not even that you're going like, it's more like, it's these like little Shrutis that are in there. So, if you play them as a note, they sound a little, they're just kind of like sharp or flat, depending on which side you're going to. But has so many sweet just movements around, this really taking his time. But see, this is a really good example of not only going for these quick ornaments, these really beautiful ones. My nails are not making it, but you heard Dad do it and it was really beautiful. But these ways of with more longer slides, so not only just quick, not like just really quick stuff all the time. He's really taking his time and letting you just kind of get sucked into the melody that he's crafting here. But the thing that's really cool about this is that there's a few phrases here that really are the same as Bageshri. All the stuff around Tani Sa, like these are like in between, because like these both fit into Bageshri and Bageshri Kanada. But then if you get confused of where to go, that's where the re also really comes in. And then I think in this phrase that he does around the Dani Sa, this I'm forgetting exactly where he went there, but he uses pa in a way that's also kind of similar to Bageshri, but then he uses it a bit more. And so it gives us a little idea that maybe it's a little different from Bageshri. And then again, the re is really strong. So every time he goes back and shows it, it's not that re isn't in Bageshri. It is there. But as you start sitting on things like and then he ends that whole phrase, this really sitting on the re. So the more re that you do, it's going to bring less of the Bageshri feel, more of that Bageshri Kanada feel. Really beautiful lines here. Yeah, the more pa you use in the ascending phrases is going to also take away from Bageshri. Because if we think about that, it's in the descending. Where it's just kind of a passing phrase, but in this, so yeah, much more usage of the pa. In Bageshri, see, then from Bageshri, it's you can't be doing things like in Bageshri Kanada he's doing, or whereas in Bageshri it'd be way more like not that gamare. So anyway, as you're using more of the pa, like you said, these phrases, as far as I understand, would be more akin to Bageshri Kanada. So when you hear Dad doing these, the more of that pa and the ascending side is bringing more of the Bageshri Kanada feel. As I listen, I'll try to think more of other ascending phrases in Bageshri with pa. But again, I think yeah, see, as you start doing more of these things, it starts to sound less like Bageshri to me. Yeah, I'd have to listen to it again. I think he's doing it from either ga. It would make sense. Sa re ga ma pa ga ma da ni sa, right? So ga ma ga pa ma ga ma ga. But I mean, if you did from re as well. See, it's like the rag doesn't really go sa re ma. It goes sa re ga ma pa ga ma. But I'm trying. Let's see if he does it again and see where he does it from. My understanding is that it'd be from ga, but maybe you could get away with it. See, again, I think if you did do something like that from re. Yeah, save these as well because, again, this is one recording that we're listening to. But let's find it. We now know we have this question. And then, or, is it from re, is it from ga? You could do it from ma as well. So ga or ma would both be fine. Those to me sound much more in the rag than re, ma ga pa ma ga ma ga, this phrase. So. Re pa ma pa or ga pa ma pa. So, good question. Let's keep listening and see if it comes up again. It's really nice you're asking these questions because when you're listening to these ragas or these concerts, these are the great kind of questions to ask. Like, oh, he does it from here. Is that from ga? Is that from re? Let's find out. And then, hey, what about this one where he goes like pa ma pa ga? What's the context in which he does that? Is that coming from some line that's descending where he's going like? Is he doing something else, and you're like, well, where is that coming from? So those are the kinds of things that I am always listening for. So I think that's a really great segue into the next sections and see where he goes from here. Those are really good questions. Let's hop back in here. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let's go back to that. That's exactly the that's the ornament that Arnab was just asking about. So this is that ni sa 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 ni re sa ni da. So same thing. So that's 2 times now with the Shuddh ni as he does this. So let's go back one more time. You can really hear it in the da. Re ga ma re. And then always taking time to tune. Wow. Ma. This ga pa ma. Ga pa ma. Marini. Okay, so this is this phrase that Arnab is talking about. Da da re pa ma pa. So let's see, check this out again. Da da na. So in this case, it sounds, in this ornament here, he's not doing re, he's doing sa, right? So that's when it's like the one where you're doing sa, but you're sliding as you go up, so it's... And then it becomes a matter of like where you're hitting from. You have another question. Yeah, what's up, Arnab?
No, so like quick, it's very quick. So it's like, is it like,
slower, yeah.
Or like,
yes, that's that one. Da, na.
Are Pama.
Yeah, see, the thing is, it's not really sa re pa ma pa. It's sa. It's this way of like, where do you hit the finger on the sarod plate to make it do this, right? Or where would you start bending from to make this happen? For Kent, like you're on keyboard, right? You can't exactly slide this one, so it'd be sa. So in this case, you'd have to think more of it from the voice, sa, like this. But it's not going. And it's not sa ga ba ma ba, and it's not right. These all have totally different feelings from the slide of. See, then there's also that. You could also catch it maybe even from Komore. It's somewhere in between all of this, and it's kind of one of these ones where I remember asking Dad about this stuff. You know, Baba, like, where do you put your finger? And he's like, listen. You're like, well, okay, but like where? And it's like, figure it out, basically. It's an intuitive thing. This is one of the, I think, the most frustrating but cool aspects of Indian classical music when you ask, where do you put your finger down somewhere? Or how do you make this happen? And it's intuitive. It'll just feel right when it does. And that is a really frustrating answer, I think. But it's kind of hard to say because I feel like you can get away with different places of where you're putting it. It's not like it's exactly... I'm putting my finger in different places each time. And it's like, which one sounds better is the question. But let's go back and check it out what he does again. Da. And, so this kind of stuff is what I'll do here, right? and just like obsessively look at, you know, da 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 da. So okay, the reason why I like this program so much, which is Chronotron. So what I can do real quick, just so if we wanted to get really kind of deep into it here, I can tempo adjust this. So let's take this down. We're gonna take this about 75% and see what this sounds like now. So yeah, it's still around. More sorry, but so anyway, it's another good question, but that's kind of the idea here. I wouldn't exactly think of it as sa re pa ma pa, but think of it still as like sa pa ma pa, and your finger is also hitting the plate as you're sliding. One thing that I wanted to go back real quick and see here is that there's a really great series of phrases that Dad does around this nida. And now I want to listen to it again. I forgot what it was. I was trying to point it out, but basically it's this way of showing similar phrases, but how many sweet ways you can show the same phrase. And so he does a number of examples around this danida. So let me go back a second and show it, because it's a really cool example that popped up to me when he did it. Wow. Yeah, okay, so this is cool. 4 different ways of showing basically nida. You're playing sanida, sanida, danida, dani sanida, basically. We did this whole section in the... Wait, where was he? Oh, then... Let's go back, because I'm messing these up, but one more time. Oh, Andrew, the app is called Chronotron, but I don't think they have an iOS version yet. But on Windows, I think it's like $25 or something. They call it like the musician's tool. A friend of mine showed it to me, and it's like, I use this thing all of the time. It lets you take also from YouTube. So you can also, you know, watch videos and loop it and tempo adjust it, and then also change the pitch. And the audio fidelity is like pretty high quality, around like at least to 60% or something. Once you get slower and slower, it starts to get a little granular. But like, this program is pretty fascinating in what it can do. Audacity you absolutely can do. There's also Amazing Slowdowner is another one. On Windows, this app I just like a lot. Chronotron is the name. Okay. क्या बात. Okay. So then always, so this is always, really nice to listen to is how he transitions in the jor. So he does it as he's ending the line, right? So it's like once you've shown the Antara, which is where we just were, this whole section around the, he comes down. And so let's listen to that ending again. Sa, chick, sa, chick, chick. A little different, but we're in, so now we're fully in jor. There's a couple cool things that he does here that is fun to point out, I think. If you're thinking about Antara, so a lot of times you'll hear Antara's end on high sa, right? That's what we know Antara to be. I think I've belabored the point for the last every single class we've done and every time anybody's ever heard about Antara. So it goes to the high sa. And if you didn't know that it goes to the high sa, Antara goes to the high sa, and then it really shows it, and there's a whole bunch of sections around there. You can make Antara really extended. It's not just that it goes to the high sa, it does do that, but if you were going to show other sections, there's a whole idea that once you've shown the high sa, is that you actually maybe go up a little bit, right? So in some of the cases we hear this. So if you were doing something like that, we're going sa re, so sa ga re ga ma ga re ga sa re sa, something like this, where we've shown up to ma. Some people, if you're doing a shorter Antara, might show more of the notes above this, but there's an idea that you only show a little bit up. You don't go too far up. We're not going all the way, we're not going all the way up to the high sa. There's a whole thing called sanchariya bhog. He's not doing it here. There's So that's a whole other conversation, but it's another section that is showing kind of relationships around like dha and a couple different notes. And then you could do a thing where it goes all the way up to the high sa and shows the entire register. Then you might actually go all the way back down to the bottom register of your instrument. It's not just the low sa, it's whatever like the lowest note basically of your whole instrument is. If it's your voice, you're going down the vocal range. You're on harmonium, you're going down the keyboard and going down as far as you can. Sarod, satar, everybody has their own different voicing here. But it could be something as quick as that. People will do it differently. And there's a way of really going down and showing everything. And then you build all the way back up. And then you might resolve on sa again, like... Sometimes people use it, sometimes people don't, but these are just sections within the Antara. Extra things that you can add, different voicings that show more movements and characteristics within the Alap. It's one of these things that depending on how long you have, how deep you want to get into the Alap bhai, you may show all of the sections or you may not. And then there's conversations about how you can kind of mix and match. But in this case, we're talking about examples of where you don't use those sections and can kind of maybe pick and choose what you want to use artistically and what feels right for the moment. If you're trying to show a shorter Antara, you're not going to show all of the sections because you would just be flying through the lower register and all the way back into the high register and then trying to come back and resolve on sa. It's a lot. It all depends on what the context is of what you're playing, how much time you have. These conversations of what's going on in the artist's mind. So when we listen to Dad, we know he already announced he's going to play gut after this. And he announced he's playing Alap jor. So maybe that's why. Maybe he just felt the section was done. Maybe didn't feel right. I don't know. We'd have to listen to more recordings of Bageshri Kanada to see if he pulls out Sancharya Bhog and how he renders the Antara in different sections. Now, I say all that because as we get into jor, if you're following the, again, traditional format, you might repeat all of this again, but now with that rhythmic pulse. But maybe there he'll do more of the deeper Antara. But these are all questions that we'll see as we go through the recording. So that was one of the main things. The other one is as he hits the Antara, the high sa, he does this really cool strumming pattern. Sometimes he does this in certain recordings. We heard him do one where he finished on sa or something and then he went... Whoops. Sorry, Maestro, it's kind of that tune, where you're doing this kind of rhythmic strumming through and kind of showing, a lot of the sound of the instrument. But I do like when sometimes in the Antara, it's like a pretty cool stamp that like, here is the high sa, here really is the high sa. We're making a point to really show like all of the sound of the sarod as it comes through. Just something that he does sometimes, and to be aware that that is something that you can do. So we went to the Antara, we've shown, now we're in Jor, so let's go back. So he does this phrase. I'm gonna stop just for a second. This Nima Dama. It's like this slight little, it's like a little mini chord kind of, because you're. It's like he does it every once in a while. He'll do it even in like Bimpalashri in certain recordings. But then, of course, he changes this here. So again, if you were thinking about Bageshri versus Bageshri Kanada, would be something like Bageshri. Dani Saga. In this case, Dani Re, because this is coming more with the Bageshri Kanada. So just little things here, and things that you might notice that are shared between many ragas. So let's go back a second. This Ni Re Sa. Wow. So these little pockets of sections of notes here, well, when he takes a phrase and he repeats it many, many, many times. I was saying how there was that really great section around the Dani, all this stuff. So I love these ones where he shows you like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different variations on the same phrase. It's like, well, I can't think of ways to play this. It's like, well, here's 7 different variations of this. Go memorize those. I'm saying this to myself, but it works for, I think, a lot of us because they're really useful tools and they're so pretty. And if you can look at how he's playing the same phrases and making them sound different each time, this is a really good example of what we're doing in this music all the time, where the masters are playing the same phrases again and again and again and again, but just in ways that don't make them feel like they're repetitive. They're also showing all these different ways you can use these subtle ornaments and different slidings and different voicings and holding just for like a hair more and then pressing the note down, and how much of an impact that can have. The music can be so subtle sometimes, but it's these little subtleties that I think add up as we're listening. That's one of the things we'll say that makes it just so darn pretty. And they're just such cool examples around how you can use the re, the maga re, all these phrases around the re. And so if you're looking at like Bageshri versus Bageshri Kanada, well, this is really powerful as a tool to see how we can move away from the Bageshri and really show that re and really give it time and space to kind of sing and breathe life into the Kanada side of the Bageshri. Just really pretty. So anyway, that's just a really great thing to look back at. Just textures. More lines around tha, different ones. Always taking time to tune. So let's take actually one really quick step back here, because I want to show something. This is always good to remind ourselves of too when it comes to jor, is that it's not just this da chick, da chick, da chick. You don't have to keep the pulse every time. The pulse is there regardless of whether or not you're tapping into it. So then we look at examples where he's showing these like kind of extended slides, and that breath that where you don't have the chikari oftentimes can be more powerful as a tool. See, that whole time it's not there. And then when it comes back, it's a point. Okay, so this part here, this is something to remind myself about, is when you're playing jor and it's da chick, da chick, da chick, it's like feeling this thing that almost pulls you to always have sound going on, or always having to keep it moving, and forgetting sometimes to really just give breath, and that it doesn't really take that much time to give it a good amount of space. Like you only need a few seconds of just kind of relaxed space to really give the feeling of a lot. It's not like you need to take 30 seconds. It might feel that way, but if we do something right here, I don't know if any of that made sense, but this is better an example because he does it here. He plays this and then he just sits on sa chick, and just either he's thinking, maybe he's moving his body, maybe he wanted to give the audience some time. Whatever it is, it gives the music a space to breathe, and it's a powerful tool. So check this out here. For me, it gives like almost a sense of longing or mystery, because it's like what's coming next, like what's about to happen here. And so when the notes come in soft, it's actually just a really sweet little pleasant surprise. Wow. So much power, and then dials it way back. Kya baat. This is so cool. This whole idea of the dynamics where it's like really strong and then he really dials it back. And then like out of nowhere it just kind of hits you with this. But it's not like it's too powerful and it doesn't like scare you, but it's just a really good usage of the strength and then the sweetness of like kind of letting go and not hitting as hard. These are like all raw strokes on the sarod, soft. They're all so subtle. Okay. Let's actually go right here. This is the question that Arnab bhai had a little bit ago about the re pa. So check this out, right? He does this. He goes re pa ma da. So this re pa. So I mean, we were doing before. It was a thing about the. But it's this slide here, right? There's a. So in this case, re pa, pretty strong, and that's like I think one of the main times that he's done this real big re pa. So then as we go back into this, let's just listen to it one more time. Wait, was that it? No, it was this one. Kya baat. That's that da da. Okay, so he's doing this strumming pattern now, right? So it's not, da chick 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 da chick chick. He's not going, and he's not doing bhai, right? But he's doing this strumming pattern, ja chicka chicka da chicka chicka da. This kind of in between. It's not in the jhala yet. He's still within like his jor. This is like pre-jhala, but it almost sounds like jhala at the same time, and it depends where he'll go with this. If he starts going into da chick 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 da chick 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 or chick da 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 chick da da da, then that's pretty clearly a jhala section. But it's almost like he's doing this lari didi 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 didi, but with this kind of at the end of the jor. One thing that he does that's really cool, and also just to go along with what Arnab bhai was asking about with the re ma, re pa, these things, he does the one example that we showed. But then he does this one really great section as he comes down. Re da re da. Very cool. As I think as like some ending phrase. But then it's like, he does do this sometimes if he's playing an ending line. If it was like, where he'll do like re, 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 this. Right, he'll do all 3 octaves here, and it's a cool tool. But in this case, he's doing this, which is a pretty interesting phrase, because if we don't really do too much of this, so when he does these types of things, it's very cool. But I think it's the one time I've heard him do it in this whole recording. Just a really nice way that throws in this one thing where you're like, wow, where are we? That's a pretty interesting melody line. And then maybe never does it again. This kind of octave jump is pretty fun. So really, really cool stuff here. So this is Lari. Wow. क्या बात क्या बात Man. Whew. Yeah, seriously, like, nice job, Dad. Super nice. Man, this is like, if that all together, it's such a powerful piece of music. Like, Bageshri Kanada, it has such a sweet feeling to it, but also has that bit of seriousness from the Kanada side. Baba will oftentimes do like Bageshri Kanada, like Alap, bhai, and like Bageshri Gut. Or I think he'll also do it sometimes the other way around, like Bageshri Alap and then like Bageshri Kanada Gut. He does it because he likes to have that contrast between the different notes, or being able to move and add different aspects of the melody in. So it's like he always likes to keep things moving. So it's like if you did a whole Alap bhai in Bageshri, then do the gut in Bageshri Kanada, vice versa. And that way you get these extra flavors and characteristics to come out. Really, really beautiful recording. Man, this is sweet. There's a couple of really great ones that are like an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes, and that has full, gut and everything too. So if you like Bageshri Kanada, definitely recommend just hopping in on YouTube and checking out what's there. That's enough for now, y'all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and for us, the evening, and see you. All right. Good night. Good day.